My name is Sandra Rodriguez Nieto. I am a Mexican journalist. I was based in Ciudad Juarez for over 9 years, from 2003 until 2012. And now I live in Mexico City. The book is called The Story of Vicente, who murdered his mother, his father, and his sister. Life and Death in Ciudad Juarez. Well, the book, it's about impunity and how the lack of prosecution of murder has fueled the violence. And I'm really concerned because the statistics that we have about the impunity is above 90%, it's almost 97% in Juarez alone. We're talking about almost 10,000 killings totally unsolved in the last 8 years alone. Reporter Armando Rodriguez, known as El Choco, as in chocolate in reference to his dark skin, arrived at El Diario newsroom at about 3 p.m. on May 21st, just minutes before our daily briefing. Armando worked the crime beat, and he had written our banner headline that day about the impunity surrounding the 23 cartel murders reported so far that year. This 16-year-old boy started getting very nervous during his interrogation, Armando said, speaking in his characteristic grave tone and thick Chihuahuan accent. Like everyone at the office, the story deeply affected me as soon as I heard the details from Armando. Vicente was a 16-year-old boy, a student in high school in Juarez, a public school, and he was a friend with 2 other kids, and he convinced them to help him to kill his own family. And when I interviewed one of the other kids, he said something that it was really striking to me. Like, he said, I told Vicente that, okay, I can help you to kill your family. I mean, I can help you to dump the bodies, but afterwards I need to go with my girlfriend because we have a date. Quote, and then they had the nerve to go swimming afterward, Armando added, taken aback by the utter disregard for human life. From his first article on the case, which will be the headline in the following day's paper, Armando reported that the detained teenage suspect had tried to cover the tracks and get rid of evidence. That Sunday, May 23, after the Attorney General Public Relations team interviewed the 3 boys, a picture of them went viral, along with Vicente's statement that he had killed his parent because, in a nutshell, he believed that they always preferred his sister over him, and his boyish bluntness because he hated them. The city was kind of shocked by the idea of a kid killing his own family with the help of 2 other kids. It's not just him. And when I went to interview him, I wanted to ask him, why did you think it was easy? How come to kill 3 people, drive a truck with 3 dead bodies, was considered easy, as one of his friends said? And his answer was, we were convinced that we were going to get away with the crime because this is Ciudad Juarez. We not even thought about the police because this is Mexico, and Mexico's impunity and corruption. And that answer was a revelation to me that we were not facing only a problem of violence, but also a problem of impunity. That we didn't yet see what the lone family parasite had to do with the larger wave of violence washing over Juarez. Many of us intuited that this murder forewarned that the new generation saw narco-trafficking and violence as a sort of cloak behind which anyone could run amok, unnoticed, committing any crime they wish. This new generation was willing to kill for the slightest of reasons, or for no reason at all, just because they knew they could. Juarez, during the 90s, Ciudad Juarez was this industrial capital of Mexico. It was a super fast-growing city. It doubled its population from 1990s to the 21st century, from 700,000 to over 1 million people. We were kind of a happy city because we had the opportunity to work. In the 90s, there was a new area of the city, and this area belonged to two former mayors, and they started to send the factories there and to sell this land to constructors, etc. I mean, if you look at the city, you can see really modern highways coming from the maquiladoras to the border in order to take the production out. But these highways don't have like sidewalks, so the workers can walk. So you see the highways and then you see dust and the people working, the workers walking, and the dust. For me, it's like this city is built for the capital, it's not built for the people that is making this capital. Pushing drugs across the border was a multi-million-dollar business, and in Juarez we had come to accept that some of the profits were used to finance other business, including, to name just a few, restaurants, hotels, bars, even halls, hospitals, real estate companies, gyms, and agribusiness. But even as the human suffering became more evident, soaring profits throughout the city overshadowed the violence. El Paso is one of the safest places in America. El Paso is the American city just across the Mexican border. It's in Texas, and it's just facing Juarez. There is a lot of narco traffickers living in El Paso, storing the drugs there. But you know what? They don't kill in El Paso. If they need to commit a crime, if they decide to commit a crime, they take the person in El Paso and they kill them in Juarez. What does this tell you? That there are places where you cannot kill because you know you cannot get away with crime. That is El Paso. And there are places where you know that you can get away with crime, and that is Juarez. That's how impunity works. Judicial impotence serves as a mirror held up to the face of the barbaric society that we have become. Our highest ideals were a privately operated justice system and the right to commit any crime we wanted. It was as if we had returned to the pre-civilized state of men, to utter lawlessness. I have seen how impunity works on the victims. It's like another crime. To lose a beloved person for any reason is painful. To lose a beloved one by a crime is intolerable. But to lose a beloved one by a crime and seeing that nobody does anything about it, it drives you crazy. The reform of the justice system started in 2007. I mean, they approved the reform, the constitution reform in 2005. And I think that there are some good effects. Tiny, tiny steps. But still, I mean, there is a long, long way. But I think despite the fact that it's sponsored by the US, which is like something that, I mean, it's like, why are we accepting this? We should be the solution to our problems. Roberto Vergali, Argentine professor of sociology of law at the University of Barcelona and director of the International Institute of Judicial Sociology, warned that US participation in judicial reforms in Latin America had a long and negative history. It was exactly these types of interventions, Vergali explained, that led to the eruption of military groups that staged coups in Brazil, Uruguay, Chile, and Argentina. The impunity and injustice that reigns in this country is still manifest, Vergali said. Genocides are still taking place in the streets. Officials who steal public funds remain free. I mean, since I knew that the US government was sponsoring a judicial reform, I was like, why? Why are you interested in this? And when they were presenting the new constitution, etc., they were the director of the USID. And I interviewed him, and his answer was really striking and shocking. And he openly said because we have to protect our capital. It's like, oh, I really thought that you were interested in our lives. When I mention the word cartel, I mean, we are talking about the traffickers, the police officers, the politicians, and the whole people involved in the business. It's not just civilians, it's a system. And there were two different groups crossing drugs across the border since the 90s, probably. We are talking about what we call Juarez Cartel, which is, or La Línea, and the other group is what we call the Sinaloa Cartel or Gente Nueva. There is like this division of people ruling the trafficking, the business, and there is this other group of guys like in the death squads, like in the war business, protecting the business. That's how I understand the organization. Halfway through 2009, and there had already been more than 2,000 murders in the city. It felt like Juarez was drowning in a flood of polluted water. Corpses were rotting in the streets, and we had come to expect 8 murders per day. The echoing of gunfire, the fear, the general incapacity to understand these dimensions of barbarity, a city where homicide had become one of the most trivial of crime. Violence, sitting in the darker corners of our subconscious, have become our outlet for frustration, ready to emerge uninhibited, free of any moral consideration to contain it. In 2000, Juarez was the city where a murder rate like 300 per year or over 400 per year, which is supposed to be like a normal rate for a city that size. But in 2004, we had 6,000. In 2009, it was over 2,000. And in 2010, it was over 3,000. So I gathered these statistics about how many people has died because overdose or consumption of illegal drugs. And in 5 years, the statistic was 50 or 52 people die for overdose. And how many people has been killed because the war on drugs? Well, 10,000. So that, for me, is like an evidence that this war on drugs is pointless, wrong, a failure, and it's killing more people than the drugs themselves.